Imagine being alone in your house late at night when you hear a knock at the door. When you open it, you see a child standing on your doorstep, but there's something off about them. Their eyes are completely black, no whites, just endless darkness. I never believed in these kinds of things until it happened to me. It was a quiet evening at home, and I had just finished a long day at work. I was sitting on the couch watching TV when I heard a knock on the door. At first, I thought it was a neighbor, maybe asking to borrow something, but when I opened the door, there was no one there. I was about to close the door when I heard a soft voice. "Hello?" I looked down and saw a boy, maybe around 10 or 11 years old, standing on the doorstep. His clothes were simple, just an old t-shirt and jeans, and his shoes were scuffed. But what struck me was his eyes. They were completely black. No pupils, no whites, just empty, dark voids staring up at me. I froze for a moment, my heart racing. I didn't know what to say or do. The boy continued to stand there, silent, his head slightly tilted as if waiting for me to speak. "Are your parents home?" I asked, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease. He shook his head. "Can we come inside?" "We're cold," he said in a flat, emotionless voice. Something about his voice, the way he spoke without any emotion, sent a chill down my spine. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread creeping over me, but I couldn't explain why. I had no reason to believe he was dangerous, yet every fiber of my being was telling me to slam the door and lock it. But I didn't. For some strange reason, I felt compelled to let him in. Maybe it was the way he looked at me, or maybe it was the fact that he was just a child. "Where are your parents?" I asked again, my voice shaking now. The boy's lips curled into a faint, unsettling smile. "They're just around the corner," he said. "We just need to get inside." At that moment, I noticed a second child standing behind him. She was a girl, maybe the same age, with the same dark eyes. She didn't speak, only stared at me with that same eerie expression. I quickly shut the door, feeling my pulse racing. I couldn't understand why I was so terrified of these children, but something about them, about their eyes, felt wrong. I ran to the back of the house, checking all the locks and curtains, hoping they would just leave. But the knocking didn't stop. The two children began to call out my name, but in a voice that didn't belong to them. It was a deep, distorted tone, as though something was trying to force its way through their tiny, innocent bodies. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I dared to peek through the blinds, their dark, unblinking eyes were there, watching me. The next morning, they were gone. But I could feel their presence lingering. The doorbell never rang, and the knocking never came again. But I knew they weren't finished. A few days later, I learned that these creatures, known as the black-eyed children, are not just stories. People who encounter them often feel an overwhelming sense of dread and fear, and if you let them inside, they say you'll suffer for it. I'll never forget that night. I've since moved away from that house, and I always double-check my locks, but I still wonder, what if they're still out there waiting for me to open the door again? Sometimes the scariest things aren't the monsters under your bed. They're the ones who come knocking at your door. If you ever encounter children like these, don't let them in. It could be the last decision you ever make.